Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. It's a surprising twist out of Miami as Jalen Ramsey, one of the league's premier cornerbacks, is officially absent from the Dolphins' mandatory minicamp. This isn't just a minor no-show. This is a calculated move amid a larger narrative. Miami is actively working to trade Ramsey, and the situation is now spilled into public view. What makes this more than just a contractual standoff is that Ramsey's absence isn't just about a player skipping practice. It's a sign of deeper turbulence in the Dolphins' secondary, which is now without the leadership and playmaking of an all-pro talent. For a defense that had counted on Ramsey's experience and intensity, this shakeup could ripple far beyond training camp reps. Yet head coach Mike McDaniel, known for his calm demeanor and sharp football intellect, isn't letting it throw him off course. In fact, his blunt response is now going viral, not just for its honesty, but for the attitude behind it. McDaniel, in his usual no-nonsense tone, was asked whether he was surprised that a resolution hadn't been reached between Ramsey and the franchise. His response was as raw and unfiltered as it gets in professional sports. "I don't personally give a shit about what I feel." That line hit like a brick. In an era where coaches often dodge directness, McDaniel cut through the noise with an edge that shows just how little patience he has for distractions. He went on to explain that his job is to focus on what he can control, a theme he emphasized repeatedly. He's not here to entertain hypotheticals or emotionally invest in absent players. His priority is crystal clear. Get the guys who are present moving in the right direction together. McDaniel called it handling noise, and that's exactly how he sees Ramsey's situation. Not a crisis, but a teachable moment for his squad. For Ramsey, the optics of this holdout are undeniably stark. Just last year, he inked a massive 3-year extension worth over $72 million, a deal that made him the highest paid cornerback in the league at the time. That level of financial commitment from both player and franchise suggested a long-term relationship built on mutual trust. Fast forward to today, and things couldn't feel more fractured. The fact that the Dolphins and Ramsey are already pursuing a trade signals a major change in direction. Whether it's about fit locker room, chemistry, or financial flexibility, something behind the scenes clearly soured. Ramsey, who played in 17 games last season and looked solid despite coming off a meniscus tear, now finds himself on the outside looking in. He's not injured, he's not suspended, he's just not part of the plan anymore. And that speaks volumes. At 30 years old, Ramsey's numbers last season showed subtle signs of decline, at least in traditional metrics. He notched just 2 interceptions, his lowest since 2020, and failed to make the Pro Bowl, something that hadn't happened since his rookie year back in 2016. Still, there's nuance to his performance. His tackle count and tackles for loss actually rose, and he remained disruptive in coverage, totaling 11 passes defended. He's not washed, far from it. But for a player with his resume and price tag, the bar is simply higher. Teams expect game-changing plays and lockdown coverage every week. And while Ramsey didn't regress sharply, the Dolphins may be looking at the future of their roster and seeing more flexibility without him. Whether it's about cap space or a locker room refresh, the Dolphins clearly believe a trade is worth exploring. Ramsey's career arc makes this situation all the more dramatic. Since entering the league as the number 5 overall pick in 2016, he's built a reputation as one of the NFL's fiercest competitors and loudest voices. He made a name for himself with the Jaguars, helping power one of the league's most fearsome defenses in 2017 before moving on to the Rams, where he was a Super Bowl champion and perennial Pro Bowler. Then came the trade to Miami in 2023, seen at the time as a major coup for the Dolphins. They were adding an elite veteran to bolster a secondary that was already brimming with talent. The expectations were sky high, and for a while it looked like the perfect fit. But now, just 1 year later, Ramsey and the franchise are parting ways like ships in the night. McDaniel's handling of the media throughout this saga has been particularly noteworthy. Instead of spiraling into speculation or delivering the usual vague coach speak, he stayed grounded, almost detached. When asked to define what he means by noise, his explanation was straightforward. It's anything that distracts from the work being done on the field. It's drama, off-field narratives, emotional baggage. And to McDaniel, Ramsey's situation falls squarely in that category. The message to his team is loud and clear. We focus on who's here. We work with what we've got. That philosophy may not win headlines or social media sympathy, but it sets a firm tone inside the building. McDaniel isn't worried about personalities or public perception. He's coaching football. For the Dolphins locker room, this kind of public split with a star player is a defining moment. It tests the leadership of the team. Who steps up to fill the void in the secondary? Who becomes the new voice of the defense? And perhaps most importantly, how do younger players interpret this move? McDaniel wants them to see it as a lesson in professionalism, a reminder that nothing is guaranteed in the NFL, not even for a superstar. He's using Ramsey's absence not as a negative, but as a training rep in accountability and focus. It's a subtle but powerful approach, and one that could pay dividends down the line as the team faces inevitable adversity throughout the season. There's also the big question of where Ramsey might land next. Given his pedigree and the relatively manageable terms of his contract moving forward, there will be interested teams. A veteran cornerback with playoff experience, elite instincts, and a chip on his shoulder is a valuable asset in this league. The key will be finding the right fit, both in terms of scheme and culture. Ramsey isn't a silent contributor, he's a presence. Whichever front office decides to pull the trigger on a trade will have to be ready for the whole Jalen Ramsey. Experience, the swagger, the voice, the expectations. And for Ramsey himself, this could be the reset he needs to reignite his career. A new city, a new defense, and a fresh chip on his shoulder could be the perfect storm. But for now, the Dolphins are moving on with or without him. McDaniel is locked in on camp. The players are grinding through drills, meetings, and film sessions. The business of football continues. And as the media buzzes around Ramsey's future, Miami's message is clear. The train doesn't stop for anyone. This isn't about disrespecting Ramsey's contributions. It's about building something that's sustainable and cohesive. And sometimes that means making the hard call. The Dolphins didn't blink. They've embraced the turbulence, and McDaniel is steering straight through it with his foot on the gas. So as day one of minicamp wraps up and the media continues to speculate, the Dolphins are setting a new tone. It's a culture check, a roster pivot, and maybe even the start of a new era in Miami's defense. Jalen Ramsey's time on Aqua and Orange may be nearing its end, but the ripple effects of his departure will shape the team long after he's gone. The franchise has made its choice. Commitment over controversy, presence over prestige, team over talent. And in a league that changes fast, sometimes the boldest move is simply to let go and move forward. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami Dolphins franchise quarterback, just lit a firestorm under the fan base, and not the kind that fuels championship dreams. In a recent and shockingly candid interview, Tua made comments that no one expected and frankly, no one wanted to hear. When asked about his current mindset and long-term commitment to the Dolphins, Tua didn't sugarcoat his feelings. He said bluntly that he's not satisfied with where he's at in the organization. And just like that, a hurricane of emotions swept through Dolphins Nation. The quarterback who was once seen as the face of the franchise now sounds like a man with one foot out the door. Fans were left confused, betrayed, and furious. After years of supporting Tua through thick and thin, through injuries, inconsistency, and even internal controversy, this comment felt like a slap in the face. This wasn't a cryptic tweet or a subtle gesture during a game. This was a clear, verbalized message. Tua is unhappy. And he didn't even try to mask it behind media training or polished responses. It was raw and real, and that's exactly why it cut so deep. Miami has rallied behind Tua since he entered the league. They forgave the rocky starts. They stood by him when rumors swirled about potential trades. They defended him when analysts doubted his ability to be a top-tier QB. But this latest comment, this may be the breaking point. Because it's not just about a player feeling frustrated, it's about a leader, a captain, publicly expressing dissatisfaction with a team that gave him everything. And fans don't take that lightly. Loyalty is a two-way street, and right. Now, Tua just crossed into oncoming traffic. Let's be clear, no one expects NFL players to be blindly loyal, especially in a business as cutthroat as professional football. But there's a time, a place, and a tone for everything. Tua's timing couldn't have been worse. OTAs are underway, expectations for the season are sky high, and the front office just doubled down on building around him. Miami passed up quarterback, prospects in the draft. They reinforced the offensive line. They continued developing a team catered to Tua's strengths. And now he says he's not satisfied. The optics are terrible. It sends a message not only to the fans, but also to the locker room that Tua might not be fully locked in. That's dangerous territory. In a league where chemistry is everything and leadership is non-negotiable, these kinds of comments can fracture trust and unity in an instant. Of course, some fans are rushing to Tua's defense. They say he's just being honest. That maybe, just maybe, he's trying to light a fire under the front office or express internal frustrations that have been brewing for a while. And while there might be a kernel of truth to that, there's a better way to go about it. Great leaders handle their discontent behind closed doors. They push for change through action, not sound bites. And when they do speak out, they do so with clarity and purpose, not vague, sweeping statements that fuel speculation. Right now, Tua's comment feels more like an emotional outburst than a calculated move. And that's what's so troubling. Because if your quarterback isn't stable emotionally, how can he lead a team through the grind of an NFL season? Let's not forget, this isn't Tua's first brush with controversy. From his early days in Miami, his career has been under a microscope. There were whispers that he wasn't the guy. There were questions about his arm strength, durability, and leadership. But time and time again, Tua fought back. He silenced critics. He posted impressive numbers. He showed grit. That's why this comment is so confusing. Just when it felt like he'd finally found his rhythm, he dropped this emotional bomb. And in doing so, he may have unraveled months, if not years, of goodwill. For a quarterback who's always prided himself on faith, humility, and hard work, this moment feels wildly out of character. Or worse, maybe it reveals something fans didn't want to see. That Tua isn't as committed to Miami as Miami is to him. What's next for the Dolphins? That's the million-dollar question. The team's front office will likely play damage control, downplaying the comment as passionate honesty or competitive frustration. Coach Mike McDaniel might brush it off in the next press conference, insisting that Tua is still 100% focused, but the damage is already done. Fans have long memories, and they'll be listening closely to every word Tua says moving forward. Every facial expression, every press conference, every post-game interview will be dissected for hidden meaning. And if things start to go south during the season, these comments will come roaring back into the spotlight. Because now there's a seed of doubt, and once it's planted, it's hard to uproot. Meanwhile, rival fan bases are loving every second of this. Patriots fans are laughing. Bills fans are tweeting memes. Jets fans are already speculating how this might shake up the division. Because let's face it, drama weakens a team. And Tua just gave the AFC East a fresh storyline to exploit. In a division as tight as this one, every distraction matters. Every ounce of lost focus can be the difference between a playoff berth and sitting at home in January. The Dolphins were supposed to be contenders this year. They were supposed to take the next step. And now they're dealing with a PR nightmare just weeks into the offseason. Let's hope this is a wake-up call for Tua. He's still young, still moldable, still capable of becoming the face of a franchise, not just with his arm, but with his voice. But leadership isn't just about playing well on Sunday. It's about how you carry yourself Monday through Saturday. It's about being the rock when everything else is shaky. Right now, the Dolphins don't need drama. They need unity. They need focus. They need a quarterback who's all in. And if Tua can't be that guy, then maybe, just maybe, Miami needs to start thinking about life beyond him. It's a harsh thought, but this is the NFL. There are no fairy tales, only wins, losses, and legacies. This isn't a call to cancel Tua. He's earned the right to speak his mind, but he also has to live with the consequences. Being a franchise quarterback comes with immense responsibility. Every word you say becomes a headline. Every hint of dissatisfaction becomes a storm. The best quarterbacks know that. They manage that. Tua, for all his talent, just made a rookie mistake with veteran-level stakes. The next few weeks will be telling. Will he clarify his comments? Will he double down? Will he take accountability? The ball is in his court now. But one thing's for sure, the honeymoon is over. And in Miami, forgiveness has a short shelf life. In the end, maybe this moment will define Tua, for better or worse. Maybe it's the adversity that pushes him to grow as a leader, or maybe it's the first crack in a relationship that never quite healed. Either way, the fans have spoken, and they're not happy. For a franchise star to openly question his satisfaction, that's not just news. That's a storm. And if Tua doesn't find a way to calm the waters soon, he might find himself sailing toward an exit far sooner than anyone expected. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.